Welcome back to Joker TV's coverage of ATHFEST 2023. The tequila is kicking in. My name is Adam H., and I am here with the incredible Cassie Chantel.
Trap. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. I've got a lot I want to ask you about here.
Let's get into it.
You have done some really incredible things. First off, though, I'm just going to ask, in general, your early musical inspirations. Did you grow up in a household that played a lot of music, that kind of thing?
Yes.
What first got you hearing and moving, and when did music first move you?
Well, everybody in my family listens to music. I think everybody's a music head in their own right. My sister was my first influence, so she listened to a lot of Lauryn Hill. She listened to a lot of Jill Scott. My mom listened to a lot of Mary J. Blige, and then my aunt gave me Tupac. Mm-hmm. So I had a good mixture of music growing up, and then my great granddaddy, he's a folk blues and folk singer, so it's just inherited, I feel like.
Okay. When did you first start making music? What was that first spark where you couldn't not make it?
I was 11 when I first started recording music. I wrote my first poem probably around that time. I was writing short stories. I've always been a writer. And then I was also a bit of a nerd, so I found some free equipment online. I grew up in the age of the internet when it was first happening, so I found some equipment, and that was my early stages of recording and kind of taking beats from online or making my own loops. So I started at 11.
11. Easily the earliest of any of our guests today. That is amazing. When did you? What's the first thing that you recorded?
I don't know if I know it's not my first, but it's the first thing that comes in my mind is I made this Jagged Edge. Anybody that listens to R&B, they know who Jagged Edge is. I made a loop with the Jagged Edge beat, and it was called Don't Go. I was in my feelings. I don't know why I was so emotional as a child. I had so many detrimental relationships. I don't know. But yeah, that's the first thing that I remember.
Okay. I love it. That's fantastic. I think at that point I had a talk boy, and I was just doing characters and voices. To actually be doing music at that age is pretty incredible. You're not just creating your own music. You have your own record label.
Yes.
Would you tell us about that?
Tribe House Records, it really started off as me and my movement, and I was living in Atlanta, and then I started to make a lot of friends that also did music, and then we became this collective. But lately now we've all gone our separate ways, and we're focusing on different things. So what I focus on now is more so still kind of the same thing. The people that are around me are my immediate go-tos, but I do a lot of just help and with branding and anything that they need PR related. I'm able to do more consultation type things versus having that whole collective together. And now we're focusing more on the community aspect of everything and just trying to get out here and help the teenagers and kids do things.
Okay. But in that capacity where you're helping these artists develop skills, what do you find is most common that they're most lacking, if that makes sense? What do you usually end up helping with the most? The
basic upstarts of a business and functioning as a business, having an LLC and knowing how to register their songs with BMI or ASCAP or whatever. The technicality, the back end work that a label would do for you, a lot of independent artists don't have that, and I've been working in that way for years. So that's something that I can say that I'm not an expert, but I do have a lot of knowledge, and I'm able to share it.
That's amazing. I've found that especially Athens, and in a different scene, of course, is people think that if they focus on that, then they won't be pure artists, man, kind of thing.
I got to get my money, so I got to make sure that I feel like that's what really sets me apart from other independent artists. At the end of the day, I am a businesswoman, and I've had multiple businesses, and this is just, I look at it the same way as I look at any other avenue of business.
What would be your advice to someone that wants to focus more on the business side of this art that we're all involved in?
Well, go to YouTube University. If they're not going to talk to me about it, there are a lot of people online, which that's where I found a lot of my information. that are just sharing things, and just do your research. Like, really, it's no excuse to be ignorant about anything at this point, because it's all out there. So yeah, just do your research.
That's fantastic. There is another project that you have going, and I think it's on your shirt here. Something that I haven't seen anyone start, and I don't know how long, and so I find this really amazing. You started a magazine.
Yes.
Would you tell us about Art is Important?
Art is Important magazine, AI magazine. I mentioned before that I've always been a writer. The journalist in me started back in high school, like officially, and I basically wanted to recreate that same thing because I'm feeling like my old self again lately. I don't know. Maybe it's me being in my 30s and I feel like I'm starting over. So I'm becoming my old self again, and I just want to be creative in all of the avenues and showcase my photography, anything, my opinions, my writings, and then also include other people in the community, because there's so many talented people and there's so many people with things to say. So really it's just a collection of like different art mediums that I would like to share through that magazine.
That's incredible. You said you were getting back to your true self. What is it that you think that you were lacking, that you are getting back? Could you describe? So, because I think that probably a lot of people feel that way, getting their 30s, 40s.
Yeah.
What's that gap that you felt that you were able to put a bridge?
Because the 20s was just like a lot of different train wrecks like happening. Like the 20s, like I'm just this rock star and I'm just like being pulled in so many different directions. I have a lot of energy. I'm just doing things. And so when you get pulled in all these different directions and you get lost in the sauce, so they say, and I'm living in Atlanta, and I lost myself like just doing things and doing what I thought people wanted from me, or doing things, just following trends. So I feel like at this point, once you hit that 30 like mark, I feel like a lot of life happens and you just come to a lot of realizations. So that's really what's happening for me. Is just I'm coming to a lot of realizations, and I'm just not that 20-year-old. I don't have that 20-year-old body anymore either. So I have to move different.
What's that like? I have no idea. So there's something that you're involved in I'd like to learn more about. Via the Athens anti-discrimination movement.
Yes.
You're working on the Ending the School-to-Prison Pipeline.
I'm a very small part. I'm a mentor with Athens anti-discrimination movement. It is founded by Mocha and Noah Johnson. They do a lot of different things in the community here, and I got involved with them. I've known them through hip hop because they also host the Hip Hop Awards, and we formed a relationship through music. And now I'm wanting to go back more into the community, so that's how I ended up being in the program as a mentor. So we've been doing a lot of different things together. We actually have a 3-on-3 basketball tournament coming up on July 29th, where we're raising funds for the mentorship program, because what I do through mentoring is like photography, videography, podcasting. I'm teaching a social media marketing class once a week, and then I have like 2 mentees outside of the class that I teach. Wow. So yeah, we're raising funds for that. So right now it's a lot of just using my equipment, but it's over. We have like 24 students. So we want to be able to have them have their own equipment so they can just get the most out of the experience.
That's great. I'm sure that there's quite a few Athenians with a good amount of equipment laying around.
Yes, I hope so.
Can you tell us how someone could help with that?
Yes.
Where they could donate, how they could reach out to you?
Yes. Well, if they're local and they just want to pull up, we're open Tuesday through Saturday at the mall, Georgia Square Mall. The bookstore, the Athens Anti-Discrimination Movement Justice Center and bookstore is inside of the mall. So if you ever want to just drop off, if you want to reach out, I'm on tribehouserecords.com. You can go to our contact information there, and I can help you with anything. But we're happy to have any of the equipment that you have lying around.
That's excellent. So Georgia Square Mall for donations. That's really phenomenal, and I'm sure that there's some people out there who would love to be able to help. There's a performance I wanted to ask you about. It's online, and I found it. I feel pretentious saying this, but arresting. Like it just kind of.
I feel like that's quite ironic.
Right. So this was a performance, and people can find this on YouTube, with the Athens Hip Hop Harmonic. It's part of that series.
Yes.
Is the best way to put that? Yeah. It was 2 songs. Miss America, and I Don't Know. And what I loved about this was how different these songs were. And especially in the songwriting for I Don't Know, it had the feel of someone saying, I don't know. Miss America is a great song because it's, let's see, how do we put this? Like punching up this way, you know what I mean? And then I Don't Know is those moments where you're just overwhelmed. I don't know, is that accurate to how you felt when you were writing these songs? Would you tell us about the process of writing those?
Well, Miss America, I wrote when America was going through a lot of different things. There was a man that was murdered at the Wendy's. I was living in Atlanta at the time. He was murdered by the police there, and I was actually in the midst of it. It was like less than half a mile away from my house. I'm hearing the helicopters. I'm hearing the protests and the riots. And then, of course, we already had Trayvon Martin and George Floyd. So it was just a very the emotions were high in the country, and I was upset and I was mad, and I thought about, I don't know, America as a toxic lover, because I don't know, it's just that bitch that I just can't let go, and it's like, you know, I hate it, but here I am still in America, not going anywhere. So it's kind of, that's the vibe of the song, and that's where I was coming from. And then IDK, that's actually an older song from a 2017 body of work, and really the mindset behind that is I'm a fan of Erykah Badu, and she has a song called On, and I feel like it's a timeless piece. And at the time I felt like I want to write a song that's timeless in that way, that expresses myself in all of the ways, but it's still very open-ended, that people can interpret it in their own ways too. Although it means so much to me, it can also mean something completely different for someone else. So I wrote IDK with Erykah Badu On in mind, and I was very intentional about that body of work. So I think the way that you described it is pretty accurate. With, it's just I don't know, like I have all these feelings, but I don't know.
It just kind of becomes overwhelming sometimes, right?
Right.
So you've been able to do some touring, some playing out of town.
Yes. Would you
tell us about the road, like good, bad, ugly, really great food you found, really bad food you found, you know, that kind
oh my
of
gosh.
thing?
The road was really fun, but Auntie tired. That's why my last tour was 2021. I toured pretty much 6 to 7 months straight. I went to San Francisco, Dallas, Milwaukee, Houston, and of course Atlanta, of course Athens, Savannah. So it was a lot of going in the different time zones, and just it was a lot. So I realized then what my body can handle and what it can't, what I need to do physically to be prepared for a show. I was losing my voice a lot. So I really learned a lot. I learned that I spent a lot of unnecessary money that I could have avoided with better planning. So it was a growing, I grew up, I would say, on the road, and I'm very excited to get back out there since I know so much now. But yeah, it was really fun. I would say Dallas is probably my favorite place. I was thinking about moving to Dallas, still thinking about moving to Dallas, but I recently realized that there's a lot of beef between Georgia and Texas. So I don't know if I want to trade on Georgia to go to Texas. I don't know. Okay. That's something I just found out about.
I didn't know that either. I don't need a whole lot of excuse to hate on Texas. Last segment, we attacked Mississippi. Let's see how many more friends we can make in Texas. It'll be great. So what would be your advice then, having been through those tours, that first piece of advice for someone who wants to embark on something similar?
Check the weather. Because I just assumed about San Francisco. I'm like, oh, I've been to LA, so I know it's hot. It's really not hot in the Bay. So I spent a lot of money buying clothes out there because I was not dressed for it. And just really, outside of checking the weather, just really checking the surroundings of the area, trying to get the best price for if you're going to Airbnb route. Is the Airbnb route most cost effective compared to the hotel? It's just really taking all of the small things, just taking account for all those things.
I think you're right. The nuts and bolts of touring are the things that people just, where are artists, and just kind of go for it, and then realize there was practical things to plan for.
Exactly. Airbnb experience in San Francisco was terrible.
Really? What happened there?
It was, I basically was there with a woman that, you know, you have those Airbnbs where the person stays there the whole time with you, like they don't leave you the place.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, so it was one of those places, and then there was it was kind of like an apartment style thing because there was other people doing Airbnb on the other side, and then the lady that was managing the house was just like watching us and like just, I don't know, just she had something to say about everything that we were doing and basically acting like our mom. It's like I took my mom to San Francisco. I'm like, lady, I paid for this. Like, it was the worst.
That would be my own personal hell, taking my mom to San Francisco. I was there with my mother-in-law. I feel like mother-in-law jokes are very like 20th century, so I'm not going to go into that. But it was the first time we drank together. It was fine.
Probably learned a lot.
But I understand that you have a fashion line as well. Is that true?
Yes. It spins off of the record label, so it's different variations of maybe phrases that I say, like tribe, tribe, tribe. That's something I say at every concert. We have merchandise with that. But then I also have Art is Important. It's a magazine, but it's also a lifestyle. So one of the shirts that I'm wearing right now is from that line, that piece of the line. So I just have different things. I like to create fashion. I love fashion myself, so I like to give that piece, well, not necessarily because they're paying for it, but I like to offer that piece to the masses, so we can be twins. We can dress alike.
Where can people find that?
TribeHouseRecords.com. That's pretty much the hub for everything.
Okay, so TribeHouseRecords.com for all things Cassie Chantel.
Yes.
Let's see. So I'm going to ask you about your ATHFEST set because we're here. But in general, would you tell us about how Athens and the scene here has helped you and has been part of your growth as an artist, which I realize is broad, but any thoughts that you have on that? I
mean, Athens has pretty much been boot camp. It's pretty much been the day one. Like I've been outside of Athens, but most of what I've learned about being a performer, I learned in Athens. I had a lot of great mentors like Montu. He was one of the first people that I came out on the scene like doing shows with. So just the challenges that Athens put you through, because it's a hip hop scene here and they take it very seriously. Mm-hmm. So just being around other artists that take their craft seriously is just like iron sharpens iron. So I would say Athens really, it made me. It built the artist that I am today.
Would you say that Athens being a smaller scene and being in the shadow of the enormous Atlanta hip hop scene, do you think that is what feeds into that pressure?
They're two completely different beasts. They're completely different communities, and they're not really comparable to me. So I wouldn't say that I think that people, when they leave Athens and they go to Atlanta, they do learn probably more about the business side of it. Okay. And they want to be more mainstream. You get more of the mainstream appeal. Mm-hmm. By going to Atlanta and then coming back, so it's a good exposure, but they're two completely different scenes.
Do you think that they affect each other, like bounce off of each other in a way?
Now more than ever, I would say, because it's like that highway is very open now. It's a lot of artists that are going to Atlanta, and then I see a lot of Atlanta artists that are now traveling to Athens and doing more shows. So now more than ever.
Excellent. That's really cool. I think that I've seen similar stuff in the heavy music scene. Athens metal bands are looking at bands like Mastodon that are enormous and just going like, like, are we competing with this? Or I think that they're trying to kind of figure that relationship out. Mm-hmm. So it sort of goes across different genres. I think there's a sort of a common experience that's there. So tell us about your ATHFEST set.
Well, a lot of it was composed by Julian Berger. And I met him at the Athens Hip Hop Harmonic. He actually composed Miss America and IDK. Mm-hmm. So he's now since become a part of the band, along with Jonathan, who plays saxophone, along with Ian, who ran sound at the time. So I pulled a lot from the Athens Hip Hop Harmonic and really wanting to, since I'm on the Georgia Theater stage, the main stage, this is like a dream stage to me. I wanted to make this a really different set, and I wanted people to see where I am now musically. And a lot of my earlier work or work that people know me for is more hip hop based. I'm still hip hop, but this is a lot of R&B. This is jazz, just different fusions of genres, and I'm excited to actually showcase it tonight.
And as well, we should all be excited to hear it, because I think that was one of the things in that performance, which is on YouTube, is that you blended like R&B and like hip hop delivery together in a way that just felt amazing.
Thank you.
So I'm sure we're all looking forward to that at the Georgia Theater tonight. Cassie Chantel, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
This is Joker Joker TV for ATHFEST 2023.
Got the sirens. It's not hip hop without the sirens.
Yeah. This shit scary, ain't no trick or treat. Stay up by the street or get treated.